Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a local organization offers free business help to arts groups. And we'll visit with award-winning composer and conductor Eric Whitacre. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Attorneys for Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio have told a federal judge that the MCSO does not want to pay more than $7 million in attorney's fees for the plaintiffs who brought a successful racial profiling suit against the department. Sheriff's lawyers say that the fees claimed by the plaintiffs were, quote, unreasonable, excessive, and redundant. The objections were filed earlier this week. And two Arizona-based campaign finance groups have been ordered to pay the state of California $1 million. This for violating California law by hiding the names of the group's donors during the state's 2012 election group. The election campaign, I should say. The group, Americans for Responsible Leadership, was founded by Arizona Republican Party Chairman Robert Graham. It's now being run by former Arizona House Speaker Kirk Adams. The other Arizona group, the Center to Protect Patient Rights, is led by Republican political consultant Sean Noble. Well, a program matching business professionals with arts organizations will soon be relaunched by Arizona Citizens for the Arts. The effort brings together business professionals with arts organizations for skills-based consulting purposes. Joining us now is Robin Hanson, a business volunteer from Arizona Citizens for the Arts. It's good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
It's so nice to be joining you as well.
Let's get a better definition of business volunteer for the arts.
So a Business Volunteers for the Arts program matches, just like you said, it matches organizations in the arts and culture world with corporations who have skilled volunteers. So it's really about connecting arts and business is what the motto is.
What kind of most common needs you're hearing from arts organizations?
It's really interesting. The needs that I'm hearing from arts organizations are sort of their wish list. You know, they would love to be able to do something, but they just don't have either the time or the talent, the resources within their organizations. So a couple of things I've been asked about is, could I find someone to do a cost-benefit analysis for the last 3 years of their programs so that they know which ones bring in funding, which ones might sort of need to go away, they're not really making them any money, and which ones are spectacular. And the executive director simply doesn't have the time to sit down with the spreadsheets on her desk, so she said, can you find me an accountant that can come in and do that?
Is this the kind of thing that arts organizations are increasingly concerned about? Was it something that in the past they had people on staff that could handle this sort of thing? Talk about the need and why this is even required out there.
I think that there's a misconception that, not necessarily that some folks have, is that you've got arts organizations and they do great things doing artwork, but they forget that behind the stage is a lot of business work that's going on. And I think that they have been so hard hit by the economy that there really isn't simply the time or the resources to do some of these pieces. For example, one of the groups wants to know how to make a more robust volunteer program. So to be able to take a staff person who's probably doing something else and something else and something else and saying, by the way, in your spare time, could you develop a volunteer program for us, just really isn't going to happen. Where there are people in the business community who know how to develop a volunteer program.
And so who are these people in the business community?
Well, I managed a volunteer program for a corporation here in the Valley for almost 20 years. So I've gone to my peers, folks at Intel, folks at Salt River Project, folks from Arizona Public Service, and said to them, I know you have great volunteers. I know you have great skilled folks in your business departments who've probably never thought that they had a skill that a nonprofit could use. It's not every day that someone goes into a marketing department and says, hey, we've got this great volunteer opportunity for you. You're not going to be packing lunch boxes, you're going to be helping an organization put together a marketing plan for the next year. So that's the kind of volunteer we're out there looking for.
So you're looking at marketing plans, you're looking at strategic plans, developing an employee handbook, I would imagine?
All of those pieces. And we have folks who are, I've got a couple people sort of in the queue. We just launched yesterday. And so we've got a couple people that we're sort of priming the pump with who have come to us and said, we would love to do this.
Yeah.
And they're active employees. It's not as if it's retirees or someone who's sort of at the end of their career. They're people who are saying, I have a skill, I'd like to share it, and what do I need to do?
Well, I was going to ask you that. How is the matching done, and who makes the match?
I get to make the match.
Oh, good for you.
Yes, I know. I feel really special about that. It's really sort of I think of it in terms of doing dual recruiting. I'm recruiting volunteers to be consultants, and then I'm recruiting arts organizations who are looking for consultants. So it's that Venn diagram where the sweet spot's right in the middle, and we can find folks who've got the time to meet the needs that the organization has. We expect the projects to take somewhere between 90 days to maybe 12 months. If you're doing a strategic plan, you sort of want to see it through the entire piece.
So these aren't necessarily open-ended then? They do
No,
have,
not at all. We want them to have a finish date
Yes.
because I think that idea of a professional coming into an organization, it's not, I mean, they're getting someone who's helping them do something the same as if they had to go out and hire someone.
Well, so are you recruiting here, or do business groups and do arts organizations, do they have to apply in some way?
They do. They can go to our website at azcitizensforthearts.org, click on Get Connected, and there are 2 applications. 1, if you want to be a consultant, just what we call the folks who are volunteers, or 2, if you want to get a consultant. And we've tried to make the applications as painless as possible. I interviewed 6 arts organizations in the last probably 6 weeks, and 4 of them, when we got there, said, here are our job descriptions. We've been waiting for you. Here's what we're looking for.
Wow.
And so they've got a stock of positions that if someone came along and said, hey, how would you like some free help?
This program was on hiatus, I understand, for a year. What was that all about?
It was with the Arts and Business Council, had it for many years. And they had funding, when funding dried up for all kinds of things, it dried up for the Arts and Business Council. They had 2 great programs they ran, Business on Board and Business Volunteers for the Arts. Arizona Citizens for the Arts took over Business Volunteers for the Arts, and Business on Board went to the Alliance of Arizona Nonprofits. This year, Wells Fargo and their Neighborhood Lift Foundation grant came in, and Arizona Citizens for the Arts took advantage of that foundation money, went out and hired me to come in and run this Business Volunteers for the Arts program.
I would imagine overall, when the economy does well, businesses are a little looser and more free, I guess, with their folks, or is that necessarily the case?
I don't think so. I think because when I go in to talk to a business, I'm talking to them about things like succession planning and how a volunteer can develop the skills that they need to move up the ladder through volunteering. I'm talking about leadership development. It could be someone that you're putting on a fast track in your organization, but you want them to have experience outside of your organization. So there are some great pieces of leadership development that not everyone thinks of when you're talking about a volunteer, but you're talking about a skilled volunteer. I mean, this is someone who has 3 to 5 years experience in their field. So I think that there's a real opportunity. I also think there's a value in the independent sector, gives us a value for what volunteering is worth. These volunteers aren't the $21, $22 an hour volunteer. I mean, these are people who, on average, the Taproot Foundation tells us, is about $125 an hour. So the value is both to the organization to be able to provide that pro bono service, but we're also really excited about being able to say to the arts organization, this is what you got in almost an in-kind donation.
Yes. Yes, and see where that leads to other things.
Right, exactly.
Real quickly, one more time, give us that website address for more information.
ArizonaCitizensForTheArts.org.
All right, very good. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great.
Grammy Award-winning composer and conductor Eric Whitacre is best known for his choral work and for incorporating contemporary sounds into his compositions. He's topped the classical music charts, and he's also written musicals, film scores, and conducted an online virtual choir project that became an internet sensation. And joining us now is Eric Whitacre. It's good. That is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
When you listen to that, what do you think about?
I'm flooded with emotion. You know, first I wrote the piece.
Yes.
And I wrote it 12 years ago, so it's a little bit like looking at a picture of myself from 12 years ago, and it's that personal. And then because it's the virtual choir performing, I still remember seeing every one of the individual faces as their videos were being uploaded. And so I feel this very intimate connection with the people in the choir, although most of them I've never actually met in person.
Isn't that something? I want to get to all your background here, but I want to continue on this virtual choir project because, I mean, 4 or 5 million some odd people have looked at this thing on YouTube, and it's outstanding. It's gotten great response. How did it come about?
So a friend of mine sent me an email, and he said, "You've got to see this video." And this young girl, 17-year-old Britlin Losey from Long Island, New York, had uploaded a fan video to me. And you can see her, it's still on YouTube, you can see her, she's saying, "Hi, Mr. Whitacre, I'm a big fan." And she sang the soprano line to a choral piece that I'd written, a different choral piece than this one. And watching her video, singing it alone by herself, I was moved to tears, really. I thought it was just so beautiful and pure and innocent. And it occurred to me in that moment that if I could get, say, 50 people to all do what she was doing, sing their parts, soprano, alto, tenor, or bass,
yeah,
and sing it at the same tempo and in the same key, wherever they were in the world, we could take all the videos, cut them together, and it would make a choir. It
makes such perfect sense, and yet it really hadn't been done before. How long did it take you to do this? And did you recruit people? How'd you find these folks?
So I had the idea and then immediately wrote on my blog, I wrote OMG, OMG, which I'm embarrassed to say. And I said, "I've just got this idea, let's try this thing." And the first thing we had to figure out was how are we going to coordinate it? How do we get everyone to sing at the same time? And so I had to make this conductor's video in complete silence, just imagining the music in my head. And then I posted it and I didn't know what would happen. This is just Virtual Choir 1, we've done 4 now. And for this first one, there were 12 different countries represented,
yes,
185 singers. And for this first one, there was this young man named Scott Haynes, 22 years old, who cut it all together himself, spent about 3 months working around the clock, editing and making sure that everything was just perfect.
Were you surprised when it was done? I mean, you've worked with choirs, you've worked with the cream of the crop as far as professional singing groups, and yet when it was all put together, these voices from all over the world, were you surprised at what you heard?
Astonished. What I still can't believe listening to it is how musical it is.
Yes.
You know, everyone's breathing together and moving, and all of that I attribute to 2 things. One, they were really following my conductor track. So every time I asked for a crescendo, they would crescendo or decrescendo. That part's amazing. And then the second is that there's just, I feel you can sense the spirit of the project in the people's videos, in their voices. Somehow they bring this desire to be part of something larger than themselves. And somehow that magic is infused in the videos.
To compare that now with, and you've again worked with some top choirs, what makes a good choir? Because we've all heard like the Hilliard Ensemble and we've heard the Tallis Scholars and all this kind of stuff. And some of it's technically perfect, some of it almost seems a little cold because it is so technically perfect. What makes a good choir?
Well, for me, it's a combination of those. It's great to have a technically terrific group, there's no question. Singing with pure, clean vowels and a lot of breath and support and an open sound, and then singing together as an ensemble so that they're feeling what each other is doing. But then on top of that, with the choral art form, there's text. We're singing words, and sometimes they're in English, sometimes they're in Latin, different languages, but whatever it is, the best choirs to me are those that are telling a story with the words, that take it from just being this technical exercise, music making,
yes,
to poetry.
Yeah. Oh, it's just fantastic. I got to say, you're a child of the West. You were born in Nevada, went to UNLV.
That's right.
When the basketball team was pretty good, as I
That's
understand
right,
correctly.
1988.
And how did you get from really a kid born in the West? I think you were kind of interested in pop music when you were younger.
Yeah, only pop music.
Oh, what happened? What hit you?
I got lucky. I didn't read music. I really knew nothing about classical music. And when I was 18, I played in pop bands through high school. I decided to. I went to UNLV just because it was the biggest state school,
Sure.
and the farthest from my parents, I suppose. And a friend of mine said, "You've got to join choir." And so I joined just because there were cute girls in there, and we were taking this trip to Mexico at the end of the year. And that first rehearsal, we started rehearsing the Requiem by Mozart. Oh. And I was transformed in that moment. Just
Was it one of those ceiling drops, and could you see changes? You could just feel it happening.
I felt like my entire life I'd been seen in black and white, and suddenly the world was in shocking Technicolor.
And you went from that to concentrating not so much on the singing anymore, but to the composing.
Yes.
Why?
At first, I thought I wanted to be a conductor. I was watching this conductor, David Weiler, at the university. He's still there, and he was my hero. And then one day he casually said, we were having a note question about a piece written by a composer who's alive now, Kirk Meacham. And he said, I think I'll call Kirk and ask him what he meant by this. And somehow it struck me that there was someone higher in the food chain than the conductor. And I thought, wait, you can do this and you can make a living being it just seemed impossible to me. And so I wrote a little piece and gave it to him as a gift to this conductor, to David Weiler. And that piece was published, and then I wrote another, and that piece was published. And I ended up doing my master's degree at the Juilliard School. And it took me, that single rehearsal took me in a direction I never could have imagined.
Isn't that interesting how certain things can move you in certain ways? When you write, even now when you write, do you hear it when you're writing? Do you have to play it first? Do you hear a melody first and chase it? Or do you sit down and say, I'm waiting for you, Muse, come and get me?
Yeah, Maurice Ravel, the great Impressionist
Yes.
composer, has this terrific quote. He says, "I will be at my writing desk from 8 to 4. If inspiration wants me, she knows where to find me."
And that's something.
And that's how it feels, is that I usually start at the piano and I'll improvise, just trying to find a palette of colors, maybe a chord or a language that I know is my way into this new world. And then eventually I'll stumble on either a chord or just a little fragment. Sometimes the fragment comes when I'm walking around the city or I'm singing to myself in the shower.
Sure.
And it's this golden brick. I know I've got this brick that I can then construct an entire piece out of. And then as soon as I've got that, I try to go away from the piano and sit at the writing desk and just to hear it in my mind. I'll check every now and then just to see if it's sounding the way I'm hoping it will, but I try to do everything.
Do you know it's going to be a choral piece or a wind piece? Do you know it's going to be part of a musical, maybe a film score? Does it announce what it's going to be, or do you kind of have to flesh it out a little bit?
It's a good question. No, I don't always know. And sometimes I can be quite surprised by the direction it goes.
So we'll talk about the difference between writing choral music, classical music, if you will, musicals, film scores. Is there a different angle, a different direction you go?
Yeah, it's interesting that classical music. I don't subscribe to the theory that classical music is better or more sophisticated. I find there's pop music or musical theater or opera or film scores that are just as artistically valuable as anything in the classical repertoire. But there is something in the classical world where things are just slightly formalized. And so I find when I'm writing classical music as opposed to other genres, I'm just more cognizant of the sense of formality. And by formality, I mean the deep inherent structure in just the music itself, so that it can stand on its own without anything else. All those other genres really, they've got a visual component to it or a dance, or with classical music, ideally the music is perfect, just the notes on the page.
Something as simple as a comic piece in a classical piece would be far different than a comic stretch or a comic moment maybe in a musical, correct?
Yeah, completely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it's all about context. I've tried to write comic pieces actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I mean the best way in is to sort of make fun of the the context of the formality of the
Sure.
moment. You know what I mean? And so if you can get big laughs by just pushing that a
I'm
little
sure.
bit. Yeah,
I'm sure.
it's an easier audience in some ways than a musical theater crowd.
Well, with that in mind, talk about classical music. And you mentioned that it doesn't have to be difficult and it doesn't have to be formal, and yet for most it is. And for a long time, whether it's serialism or 12-tone this, that, and the other, the atonal kind of revolution that defined modern music, modern classical music, for so long, did that help or hurt the art form, do you think?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this is a huge generalization.
Yes.
But 12-tone and atonal music, especially the kind that was embraced, say, from 1930 to 1975, let's say, or 1980, did massive damage on most general classical music audiences. I think it really scared people away. And now when people hear contemporary music is going to be performed at a classical concert, I think rightly so, there's a bit of fear there. Mm-hmm. This was some thorny music they were making. I'm personally not really a fan of all of it, but again, it's a huge generalization because some of it is just beautiful and human and heartbreaking.
So when you're composing, do you find that when you do something, oh, this might be a little difficult, oh, this might be a little cliche, I mean, how do you work that out? And are you composing for anyone in particular?
Such a good question. For me, I feel like every piece needs to have the primer, the set of rules built into the piece itself, so that all the rules of this little world, you don't have to know anything about classical music or even this tonality, as long as I start by saying, okay, this equals A, this equals B, A plus B equals C,
right.
Come with me. And so as long as all of that is taken care of, then I find you can really push audiences in terms of what they can handle with dissonance and rhythm, as long as they're being invited and brought along in the piece.
As long as you're not having more fun than they are, in other words.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
And something happened where in this last century, composers sometimes became incredibly introspective. And Milton Babbitt wrote this very famous essay called "Who Cares If Anyone Listens? Who Cares About the Audience?" I don't remember what it is, but basically the idea is, who cares about the audience? It's we're doing it for ourselves, and that's the antithesis of what I believe, which is that I'm really writing for people. I want to communicate. I want to reach out and touch people who are listening.
Are you ever surprised that something that you wrote that you thought this is gold doesn't necessarily hit the marks you sought, and something else that may have come quickly and you just kind of discarded it, all of a sudden is a huge hit?
Endlessly. And
Yeah.
it happens all the time. There's a piece that I wrote fairly early on. It's called Water Night, with a text by the Mexican poet Octavio Paz. And most of my pieces take weeks and weeks, if not months, to write. I really agonize over it. I'm a slow composer. And Water Night took me about 45 minutes. I just wrote it. It just happened. And it's one of my most successful pieces, and I never could have even, I still don't know where it even came from.
Isn't that interesting? Because some folks would say, I know some artists would say, if it comes too easy, they back off a little bit. Like something's got to be wrong. This is too easy.
Which is the wrong way to feel,
Yeah.
right? And most artists I know say the same thing, and then we all fight that thing. We actually know that somehow when you can just find when you find the groove and everything is clicking, actually the effortlessness, then, oh my God, this is the path. And it feels effortless. It feels sometimes like I don't know, with me, I feel like in order to do a day's work, I've got to struggle, or you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
at least be tired by the end of it. So I think sometimes I work too hard, and when I don't need to.
Well, interesting. We got about 30 seconds left now. You're going to be speaking to some students here later on this evening. What are you going to tell them?
I'm going to tell them to follow their dreams. You know, especially in the arts these days, it's so many, their parents, everybody's going to tell them it's a bad idea to do what they're doing. These are music students. And my own personal experience that be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid.
Well, you have done a remarkable amount of work. I mean, congratulations on your success. It's beautiful, beautiful music, and it's so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
It's my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Friday on Arizona Horizon, it's the Journalists Roundtable. A referendum against election law changes appears headed for next year's ballot, and Attorney General Tom Horne says he'll fight an order to return disputed campaign donations. Those stories and more on the next Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.